In the small Nigerian village of Afon, there lived a young woman named Aisha. Aisha was known for her kindness, her beauty, and her hard-working nature. People in the village often said her smile could chase away the darkest clouds. Aisha's parents were farmers, and she grew up helping them on their small plot of land. Life was simple but full of laughter and love. When Aisha married Ibrahim, everyone in the village celebrated. Ibrahim was a young trader who sold yams, peppers, and other farm produce at the bustling market in the nearby town. He was charming, clever, and always had a kind word for everyone. The two seemed perfect together, and their union was blessed with the hopes of a bright future. For the first few years of their marriage, life was sweet. Ibrahim's business grew, and he often returned home with gifts for Aisha: bright wrappers, sweet-smelling soap, and sometimes small gold earrings. In the evenings, they would sit outside their small mud house, watching the moon rise while they talked about their dreams for the future. But as the village elder, Baba Kola, often said, even the strongest tree faces storms. The first sign of trouble came when a new trader arrived in the market. His name was Musa, and he sold the same goods as Ibrahim, but at lower prices. Musa's stall quickly became popular, and Ibrahim's customers began to dwindle. At first, Ibrahim tried to stay positive. "They will come back," he told Aisha one evening. "They know my yams are the best." But days turned into weeks, and the market stall remained quiet. With fewer customers, Ibrahim began to bring home less money. The strain of the situation started to show. Ibrahim, who had once been cheerful and kind, became quiet and withdrawn. Aisha tried her best to support him, reminding him of the days when they laughed and dreamed together. But Ibrahim was too troubled to listen. As the weeks turned into months, Ibrahim's frustration grew. He began spending more time at the local palm wine shop, drinking away his worries. At first, it was just 1 or 2 cups, but soon he was coming home late at night, drunk and stumbling. One evening, when Aisha asked him about the money for the week's food, he snapped at her. "Do you think it's easy to sit in that market all day, watching Musa take all my customers?" he shouted. Aisha tried to calm him down, but Ibrahim's anger boiled over. That night, for the first time, Ibrahim raised his hand against her. Aisha stood in shock, her cheeks stinging where he had slapped her. She couldn't believe the man who once held her so tenderly could hurt her like this. The days that followed were even harder. Ibrahim began blaming Aisha for everything. "You bring bad luck," he said one night after another argument. The kind words and gentle touches that had once filled their home were now replaced with insults and violence. Despite everything, Aisha held on. She believed Ibrahim would change, that the man she had married was still somewhere inside him. She tried talking to him, especially on the mornings when he was sober. "Ibrahim, we can face this together," she said softly one day. But Ibrahim only scoffed. The nights grew darker for Aisha. The bruises on her skin healed quickly, but the pain in her heart grew deeper. She started avoiding the other women in the village, afraid they would see her tears. One day, Aisha decided to visit her parents. She hoped they would offer her comfort and guidance. When she arrived at their small farm, her mother greeted her with a warm hug. "Aisha, my daughter, why do you look so sad?" she asked. Aisha sat down with her parents and poured out her heart. She told them everything: how Ibrahim had changed, how he hurt her, and how she felt like a prisoner in her own home. Her father, Baba Sule, listened quietly, his face stern. But when she finished, his words shocked her. "You must go back to your husband," he said firmly. "Marriage is not meant to be broken. What will people say if you leave him?" Aisha's heart sank. "But Baba, he hurts me," she said, tears streaming down her face. "He is not the man I married." Her father shook his head. "You must endure, my child. That is the way of a good wife." Her mother, though clearly upset, nodded in agreement. "Pray for him," she said softly. "Maybe he will change." Aisha returned home feeling more lost than ever. She thought of her father's words, but they brought her no comfort. That night, Ibrahim came home late again, reeking of alcohol. He shouted at her for no reason, calling her useless and lazy. As she lay awake that night, staring at the cracked ceiling of their room, something inside her began to change. She realized she could not continue living this way. The next morning, Aisha went about her chores silently, her mind racing. As she swept the compound, she caught sight of Ibrahim, still snoring loudly on his mat. She thought about the life they once had and how it had crumbled before her eyes. She needed a way out, a way to regain her strength. She decided to seek help, but not from her parents. They had made their stance clear. Instead, she went to visit Mama Yabo, an older woman in the village known for her wisdom and strong will. Mama Yabo lived alone in a small hut surrounded by tall cassava plants. She was respected and feared, as many believed she had the power to see into people's souls. Aisha hesitated at the entrance, unsure of how to begin. "What brings you here, Aisha?" Mama Yabo asked without looking up from the basket she was weaving. Her voice was calm but commanding. I need help," Aisha stammered, her voice trembling. "My husband, he is not the man I married. He hurts me, and I don't know what to do." Mama Yabo looked up, her sharp eyes scanning Aisha's face. "Sit," she said simply, pointing to a wooden stool. Aisha sat, clutching her hands tightly in her lap. "Does he know you've come here?" Mama Yabo asked. "No," Aisha replied. "He would be angry if he knew." Mama Yabo nodded slowly. "You are stronger than you think, Aisha," she said, "but strength must be used wisely. What do you want to do?" "I just want peace," Aisha said, her voice breaking. "I want to be free from this pain." Mama Yabo was silent for a long time. Finally, she said, "There are many ways to find peace. Some are simple and some are dangerous. Are you ready to do whatever it takes?" Aisha hesitated but then nodded. "Yes, I can't live like this anymore." Mama Yabo handed Aisha a small pouch filled with crushed leaves and roots. "Mix this in his food or drink," she said. "It will make him sleep deeply. But be careful, child. Your next steps will decide everything." Aisha took the pouch with trembling hands. "What do I do after he sleeps?" she asked. "That is up to you," Mama Yabo replied. "But remember, you have the power to change your story. Use it wisely." That evening, Aisha prepared Ibrahim's favorite soup, a goosey with pounded yam. She cooked slowly, her heart pounding with every stir of the pot. When Ibrahim stumbled in, drunk and angry as usual, he demanded his food. "You're always slow," he muttered, sitting heavily on the wooden chair. Aisha placed the bowl in front of him, her hands steady despite the storm in her chest. She watched as he ate greedily, completely unaware of what she had added to his meal. Soon his eyelids grew heavy and his head slumped forward. Aisha carefully dragged him to the bed and tied his wrists and ankles with strips of cloth she had hidden under the mattress. She sat beside him, her heart racing as she waited for him to wake up. When Ibrahim finally stirred, his confusion quickly turned to anger as he realized he couldn't move. "Aisha, what is this?" he shouted, struggling against the restraints. Aisha stood over him, her face calm but her voice cold. "Do you know how much pain you've caused me, Ibrahim?" she asked. "Do you know what it feels like to be treated like nothing?" He opened his mouth to speak, but she silenced him with a sharp glare. "You will listen now," she said, "because tonight I am the one in control." Ibrahim writhed against the restraints, his eyes wide with fear. "Aisha, untie me! This is madness!" he shouted. Aisha shook her head. "No, Ibrahim, madness is what I've lived through all these years. Tonight you will listen to me." She poured her heart out, recounting every slap, every insult, and every moment of humiliation. Her voice trembled as she spoke, but her resolve remained firm. Ibrahim's protest faded as the weight of her words sank in. "I begged you, Ibrahim. I prayed for you to change, but you chose to destroy the love we had. Now you must face the consequences," she said. Tears streamed down Ibrahim's face. I was wrong, Aisha. I don't know what came over me. Please, give me another chance," he pleaded, but Aisha only shook her head. "Words mean nothing now, Ibrahim. Actions speak louder. If you truly regret what you've done, you will let me go." Ibrahim's cries grew louder, but Aisha remained unmoved. She left him tied to the bed and walked out into the night. The next morning, Aisha returned to find Ibrahim awake, his face etched with regret. She untied him, but her decision was final. "You will grant me a divorce, Ibrahim. If you refuse, I will tell the village everything," she said firmly. Ibrahim hung his head, defeated. "I will give you the divorce," he murmured. Within a week, the arrangements were made. Ibrahim approached the elders, presenting the divorce as his decision. He knew he had no choice but to save face. Aisha packed her belongings and left for a neighboring town where she hoped to start afresh. For Ibrahim, life was never the same. He stopped drinking, haunted by the memories of his cruelty. He began to work harder, determined to rebuild his life, but the shame of his actions stayed with him. Aisha, on the other hand, flourished in her new life. She found work as a tailor, sewing beautiful clothes that quickly gained attention in the town. Her independence brought her joy, and she began to rediscover her confidence. One day, she met a kind man named Ade who treated her with respect and care. But Aisha was in no rush. She took her time, ensuring that her heart and mind were aligned. When Ade eventually asked her to marry him, Aisha said yes, but on her terms. She vowed never to lose herself again. Aisha's story teaches us that courage is essential to change your story. Aisha found the strength to stand up to her abuser and take control of her life. Respect and kindness are the foundation of any relationship. Love should never hurt or diminish a person. Ultimately, the tale reminds us that, no matter how dark life seems, the power to rewrite your story lies within you.